Wish that we had less America bashers in our media and they saw the same things that we did. America is not perfect, but it's better than the rest.
All I have to say is like other places don't seem to have that ability to like really just change your circumstances in a way.
It is so easy to start a business in America, and they don't realize that in most other countries, the government keeps that captured from you.
I do think my most favorite quote right now, Ronald Reagan's, "The scariest words you can ever hear." I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
I know a lot of veterans who struggle with trying to quit smoking. The VA, unfortunately, only educates veterans and service members on, a cold turkey approach. The VA scandal happened, and we wanted to make a change, and so started working with a national veteran advocacy group, and we'd bring hundreds of veterans to Washington, D.C. to tell them about their experiences with the VA.
This episode is sponsored by Remedical. Hey, veterans. Ever feel like navigating the VA disability claims process is like trying to march in quicksand? I don't know how much you know about quicksand. It's not great to march through. Well, here's some good news. Remedical, that's Romeo Echo Echo Medical, is here to support you as you march right out of that mess, and you can keep moving forward. Whether it's a first-time claim or an increase in your existing status, Remedical connects you with independent providers who can document your symptoms with the precision of a sniper. Only Carlos Hathcock is a better sniper than them. They provide the accurate and thorough medical evidence you need to support your VA claim. With a network of experienced physicians, Remedical has helped over 75,000 veterans. Can you believe that, Blas? 75,000 veterans.
That's a big number.
That's a big number, but we're going to blow right past it. They'll explain all your options before you even think about paying anything. No more mystery, just clarity and competence. At the After Action podcast, we're not just fans of Remedical, we're customers too. Blas, what's it like working with Remedical?
Listen, Zach, I'm not going to lie. When you presented the option of going to Remedical, I was super skeptical, man. I was already done with the VA process. They threw me through the ringer, had me waiting for who knows how long. Anywhere from 6 to 12 months is what I experienced. I know there are veterans out there who have probably experienced a lot longer. When you had mentioned Remedical, like I said, I was skeptical. I gave them a call, though. Like you said, free consultation. I had nothing left to lose. I picked up the phone, gave them a call, told them exactly what I was going through and the troubles that I was experiencing. They said, no problem. Just send us over your medical records. We'll take a look at them. And if we can help you, we'll reach back out. Not even 24 hours later, I got a phone call telling me that my ratings were not sufficient to what the standard actually was, and that if I wanted to move forward, they'd be glad to help me. Almost 12 months later, I finally got my rating back from the VA, where I couldn't be more happy with the results. If you're out there and you're struggling and you're sick of running through the VA process, and you're tired of getting to run around, go to Remedical. I promise you they'll help you, and they'll guide you through the process with no pressure and get you the rating you deserve.
I couldn't think of a better personal endorsement than that right there. I got to watch him go through the process myself, and it has been a life-changing outcome for him and his family. Don't settle for frustration or unfavorable decisions. Check out the link in the description for a free consultation and $200 off Remedical services. It's time to get what you deserve.
I would wish that we had less America bashers in our media, and they saw the same things that we did, that, in fact, America is not perfect, but it's better than the rest.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think it's almost like people feel guilt, and so they don't want to say that it's great. And it's not perfect. That's not what I'll ever say.
No,
Nothing is perfect. America definitely isn't. But you can also be proud of the things that you have and the things that your country's doing. Because again, I don't see anyone working half as hard as us to do the things that we're doing. Like we're doing like green initiatives and different things all the time, taking, plastic straws out of turtles' noses and different things. Meanwhile, when I was in Afghanistan, they were throwing active trash into their water system that they drank, bathed, and ate out of. Like, it's just like they didn't care.
Yeah.
And like no one was like, hey, stop. You guys are like, you can't put that in the ocean. They're like, we don't care. We're throwing it away.
Yeah, it's really interesting that your democratic nations within the OECD, make up some less than 5% of the like trash and pollution around the world. It is actually your underdeveloped countries who are like polluting the ocean, and it's not your developed countries. America has done an incredible job. Um, America is decommissioning coal plants, which I still think that there is some like useful life in there for our coal plants, and we have scrubbers and we have advanced technology, but it's one of those things that's become a narrative problem, right? Like it's like nuclear was like 30 years ago.
We're still scared of
people,
nuclear.
People
though.
are just like, just think it's dirty energy. But China is building dozens of coal plants in Africa while the United States is decommissioning them. And so
Really?
I'm just saying, like, America is doing this incredible job, I think, of making progress in those ways that's still relatively responsible to our population, whereas other countries are not helping with the overall.
They're definitely not held
problems that we have.
accountable
They're
or
not held
taken
accountable.
They're definitely not taking a task for it. How much do you know about nuclear energy?
Yeah, a little bit. I've been on a tour of the Palo Verde nuclear power plant. I'm a pretty big like nuclear energy advocate. I think that there are obviously national security concerns, but I think that it's more benefit to national security than I think the risk of somebody like dropping a bomb on one of our nuclear power plants. I think that's almost like unconscionable and unforgivable. And I don't know that anyone's dumb enough to be the first person to blow up a nuclear power plant.
So what's our deal with it? Is it just because we're scared of it as a whole? It's got a bad rap because of the 3 Mile Island stuff? Like what?
Federal regulations is probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
Then you also have other layers of your bureaucracy that'll stop it. You have shows like Chernobyl coming out, right, which don't help public opinion. And so
Good show.
when people are doing their analysis of whether or not it's worth it to try to build another reactor or micro reactor. And by the way, we haven't built a reactor, I think, in America in 40 years. And so we should start. And there's also micro reactors. So they're much smaller scale nuclear reactors that we could use too. So I think that those are two parts of it. The other, and I think that this will make sense to you, is that you have a bunch of competing industries. So why would the natural gas industry want to pave the way for them to be replaced by nuclear power?
Yeah.
But I think and it's also really frustrating that your environmentalists on the left hate nuclear. All right, let me tell you, this guy came into Arizona, Tom Steyer. He spent like $40 million. Both Republican and Democrat legislators in Arizona were like, we don't like your ideas, get out. So instead, what did he do is he went around all of them and tried to pass a citizens initiative and a constitutional amendment. So was trying to put in his own ideas of energy policy in the state constitution. So I worked on the campaign to defeat him. And it was really surprising to me that Sierra Club was 100% behind the initiative that he was doing.
Wait.
And what he did was he also there's an important
go.
point there, is part of that was we needed to have 50%, our power needs to come 50% from renewable sources, and nuclear power plant that you guys already built doesn't count as a clean energy source. So you see what he was doing is like the Sierra Club and these really the people bankrolling the left are against that type of clean energy. Because
Isn't it the best version of energy we have? Is that just something I've heard? I'm probably wrong on all this.
No. I think that you're right. I think
because coal's rough, right?
Coal is dirty, right? But I just think that there's you're right, to get it, to use it. There are some problems there, but I think that each of them has a use.
Yeah.
There are times when you need energy really quickly, and natural gas turns on like that, right?
Yeah.
I think that,
but fracking's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think the renewables, it's a great way for us to move towards. It's great for us to build up that technology. But we don't have the battery technology, I think, to store any of that renewable energy. So, you could correct me later on the record. We'll look this up, but there are times, at least there were, when because of the way California has built its energy infrastructure and the policies that they've implemented in their state, that there are times Californians have to pay Arizona to take their electricity off the grid. So we're like, Arizonans are getting free energy, and not only free energy, but we're getting California to pay us to take it from them.
How are y'all getting free energy?
Because they can't store, so like renewable energy as
What is creating it? I mean,
so your wind and your solar, right, are creating a bunch of energy.
Okay.
That energy can't be stored. It has to go somewhere. It just can't sit there. And so to get it off the grid so that they could continue to create their renewable energy, they have to get it off the grid. So somehow politicians got together, and Arizona politicians are like, yes, we will take your free energy, but we will also charge you for it. And so there's a time when Californians are paying Arizonans, and at the peak of the summer, I believe, is when it happens most. So in the peak of the summer in California, Californians are paying Arizonans to take their electricity. Just kind of crazy.
It is, and I do understand as much as I can, as I'm dumb. I know. Well, I mean, I don't like to I never want to be like, I know this.
No, I get you.
And you have to do that, but because there's, especially in an election year, there's like things we're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about like infrastructure, and to me, energy falls under that. And we're going to talk about lately the wars. Yeah. But, like I've been like trying to learn more about like why we're so like specifically adverse to nuclear, because it seems to be, I mean, nothing's perfect. And Chernobyl, obviously, that show, what it really does document is that they were doing things unsafe at all levels. Yeah. So much so they're like, we're just going to cap it. Literally. That's what they did. They're like, we're just going to cap it, the end, and all those different things associated with it. It just, I don't know, because, you look at like our dependence on like oil and all these different things. I'm like, there's got to be something. But I have heard the battery thing the most is that we just don't have batteries for all of it. We don't have enough batteries to store the things that we need to store, which makes it harder long term. Yeah. I didn't think of like, it's not siphoning off. It's just pushing it away because you have a certain amount of storage threshold.
Yeah. And so, look, I think battery storage needs to advance. But just in the last couple of months, I've talked with an individual from the battery industry, and he doesn't think that renewable energy is going to be where it needs to be, or at least the battery storage for renewable energy is going to be where it needs to be.
Is it someone I know
to replace? No, it was just a guy I was sitting next to at a table who worked for the industry. But I do think there's a lot to be optimistic about. And I think if we embrace kind of an all of the above approach right now, we'll see ourselves through this difficult time. I think also if we allow the parts of the energy industry that have figured out how to make some money, and we can use some of those profits to advance the technology, right? Like, and innovation is created mostly in America more than it is anywhere else in the world. And that is because we have a capitalist system, and like we need those capitalist dollars to be going into research and development, right? And so my point is allow them to make money now and have that research and development fund the future. Yeah. Instead of taxing it to death and being like, hey, just out of necessity, we hope that you can magically come up with the technology. Well, that's not how any of that stuff happens. No. This isn't energy industry, but I thought this statistic could put a finer point on it. I think that it's 99.9% of all medicine trials fail. Whoa. Right? So like we spend so much money trying lots of different versions of this medicine until finally we figure it out. And it takes all of that trial and error. It takes whatever that 7 to 15 year FDA process to then get it approved. And so anyway, my whole point is that we need capitalism. We need to be making money in order to fund that research and development if we want to get to a place where we have clean energy, purely clean energy.
You're not a pro-communist guy?
Not at all.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know you're not either.
No, one of my good friends is the fat electrician. And,
okay.
Yeah, he's the king of like, it doesn't work. It doesn't. Yeah.
I just like we've learned a lot about civilizations and people and like how human behavior is, and we I think that we've seen throughout history that capitalism is the more morally superior philosophy.
Again, nothing's perfect, but it does seem to allow the greatest opportunity to change your circumstances.
You know, and
I changed mine with a piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I mean,
a
it's
little bit more too. But.
Well, there's more involved, but
Yeah.
like if you break it down, I was like, I will create myself into a meme. Like that's literally what it was. Like if the core idea is like Zach is meme, like that's it. But like can't do that any other place. I mean, I'm sure you maybe can with technology. I don't know, but like all I have to say is like other places don't seem to have that ability to like really just change your circumstances in a way.
Well, and what other country in the world can you go and just start a business? Like it is so easy to start a business in America, and they don't realize that in most other countries, the government keeps that captured from you. Like I'm trying to think of the right term, but
Withheld.
They hold. Yeah, I mean, the government holds on to those as assets, right? And you have to basically bribe the government to get your license to open a business.
No.
Did you watch the documentary? There's a good example of it on the documentary about Tetris.
No. I do remember it was like on Apple or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
So there's two. There's like the documentary, and then there's like whatever they're doing these days where they redo the documentary with actors.
Yeah.
But the documentary itself was super interesting because what you learn is that the Russian government wasn't interested in that guy making his product, didn't want to make that product well. In fact, all they wanted to do was shut it down because people in Russia shouldn't be coming up with their own ideas. Whereas in America, right, they were like trying to get it over to America as fast as they can because it's like, oh, this is a fun thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like the best way to describe America is a garden, right? It allows things to grow. Whereas other countries are like, let me stomp your ideas and your hope and your ambition out. Go do what the government tells you to do. So my whole point is the fact that you could go online right now and start an LLC from your bedroom while you're drinking a beer is pretty incredible. Like you just go to your state corporation commission, you're like, hey, this is the business I'm going to start. I'm going to start whatever business I want to start. And for the most part, America doesn't get involved until they're like, wait, that's a little bit weird. Like that may be breaking some laws. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Or that violates some regulation and it isn't safe. But for the most part, America wants to see your ideas succeed.
It just creates opportunity.
It's the land of opportunity. I don't remember who coined that phrase, but I love it.
I think it was Benjamin Franklin.
I like it.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I do think my most favorite quote right now of all quotes in any circumstance is Ronald Reagan's, "The scariest words you can ever hear." I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Like that like to this day. It's also might be because I'm watching Parks and Rec and I'm the older I get, the more I identify with Ron Swanson.
I'm sure.
When he's like, slash it. Just like when he's talking about like bureaucracy and stuff. And he's like, the government.
I mean, the government doesn't do anything better than an innovative individual or group could.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's people. It's flawed. There's many different things happening, but I don't know. I try to always. Now I'm in this phase of life where I'm just grateful for what I have and the opportunities that I have and the people I surround myself with, because I'm trying to be more of an absorber and like take in and like be mindful of my environment, of like the people I'm with, the conversation, like all those things, because I feel like this is my school, if that makes sense. Because like that's what this is. Like what we're trying to do here is have like a different conversation, a different perspective. Like you're obviously smarter than me.
I don't think so.
Trust me, you are. And Blas laughed way too quickly.
Break, clear the net, attention all posts, stand by to copy. Now that I've got your attention, I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for watching this episode. If you want to help us continue to grow, it's really simple. There's a few things you can do. You can like, comment, subscribe wherever you are. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, drop a rating and review. Every bit helps to make sure that we can keep doing the After Action podcast and get these stories out there. If you're looking for other ways to support the channel, go to veteranwithasign.com. We got shirts, we got merch, we got stickers, we got more. We even got a bunch of ways for you to save in the affiliate section. Check it out. Now let's get back to the episode.
After my military service, while I was in law school, I was looking for for a way to make some money, but at the same time, I was trying to find a way to give back. And the VA scandal happened in 2014 here. That's really how I got involved in what I do now. Was the VA scandal happened. I was already a patient at the VA, so I left as a disabled vet. I have been at now 10 years of experience being a patient of the VA and seeing those changes. But yeah, the VA scandal happened. I had a lot of friends and had built some really good relationships in Arizona already, and we wanted to make a change. And so I started working with a national veteran advocacy group and started to lobby our members of Congress in Arizona, but it grew nationally. And then we did a Vets on the Hill event every year in which we'd bring hundreds of veterans to Washington, D.C. to tell them about their experiences with the VA and to fix what was going on then were waitlist problems where they were hiding or keeping off the books or secret wait lists.
It was all in Arizona, right?
Well, it started in Arizona, but
Yeah,
think it was, happening in all the VA facilities to all veterans.
Which one in Arizona was it? That's the one I remember.
So you've got one main VA facility in, you call it like Uptown Phoenix. And then we have mostly, I think the other VA hospitals maybe partnered with the University of Arizona, which, by the way, I think is a great idea if the VAs aren't already partnering with medical schools at the universities that are next to them.
They're partnered with Meharry here in town, and I think they're also partnered with Vanderbilt, the Nashville one. I had my nose job done at the VA here. I had deviated septum. I was less than 100% out of both nostrils. It was rough.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah, full-blown sleep apnea. And my guy, I was done, and I had a great experience, and I'm eternally grateful for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks nice.
Thank you. I mean, it just means a lot to be noticed,
I'm sure. No, so look, I think that might be part of the problem with the Phoenix VA is there's no ASU didn't have a medical school. They have a GCO as a nursing school. I know that they partner with them now, but I think that those are the places, or those are the VA facilities that are the best, are the ones that are tied and have these different relationships within the city that they're providing support for.
Well, I know a lot of doctors also get like, what is it called towards their, I can't remember, but like their loans get cut in half if they serve at like specific types of hospitals or different levels of hospitals. So it drives them to be like 9 times out of 10 to be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this and cut my loans in half or whatever it is. And so like they were hungry for it. And I've the Nashville one, I've had a lot of great experiences at. The Murfreesboro one it was not as great, but like I'm grateful to be in this area for what I have. But the things I hear, especially in more rural environments, it's just tough.
Yeah. And I've seen them in Texas, in the South, back East, and none of them remind me of the Phoenix VA. And I think that the Phoenix VA has gone a long way, even in the last 10 years. I think that it has a lot of problems that it can't fix. It is, it's on a big piece of property, but there's never any parking there. I mean, these are only small things, but it's like I said, there's no medical school that's really connected to it. There's no nursing school. It's just kind of a VA facility on an island. And so that might be why the VA scandal happened.
What is interesting to me about the VA stuff in particular is, how can I say this? It does seem like it could have been planned in the sense of like the war wasn't short. It was 20 years.
Yeah.
And like, it didn't. I don't know.
Like you didn't know you were going to get all these patients.
It seems like they're always like, "Whoa, we have patients," and I'm like, "Dude, there's multiple generations." And if I could really like focus on something, honestly, I think the patient population who might need the lion's share right now, just because of time, is the Vietnam veterans and that older group who are like still fighting these like horrible cancers and the things they're dealing with. They're still underserved and they have like real hangups about even using VA services or anything, because when they came back home, they were spit on, treated bad, and all those different things that were horrible. And so like it seems like now they're trying to come in, but it's so even as outdated as the technology is, it outdates
Whole new factor.
It's ahead of them in the sense of like they're not on their phones on va.gov or whatever. And then you add our generation and the generations in between. It's just, I don't know. It seems pretty predictable to me, or at least maybe not predictable is not the right word. It didn't come out of nowhere. Like it's not new. It's something that's definitely like, hey, this is happening. This is something we're moving towards, And so a big thing that I'm always trying to do is trying to like advocate for people to use any and all resources to try and get the benefits that you need and deserve. And, start with your state officials, use whatever organization or whatever company you want, but don't be afraid to fight for it because you're fighting for your health down the line.
Yeah.
And I think people really sell themselves short on being like, I'm fine. I did it. A lot of my friends still do it. I'm fine. I don't need this. I don't need that. And it is hard. It took me 7 long years to get it cleaned up. And it was only when, Bob McDonald published his cell phone number during a press conference and I called it. A lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like way too many people didn't, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And and they put someone directly on my stuff and it was resolved right after that. It wasn't anything other than like, it just wasn't filed properly, I guess. But it shouldn't take that.
No. And that might be a big part of the problem. It does seem to me that the decision-making authority is always above whoever you're talking to.
Yeah.
And then I just think that they're overwhelmed, and I think that they need to think outside the box on how they're going to address this. I asked my primary care doctor not too long ago how many patients she had, and I think she said over 1,000.
What?
Yeah. So she doesn't know any of us, right? They're just like names on a piece of paper, but yeah.
Why not just make it into an insurance?
I agree. I think that what about this, right? Is not only insurance, but I do think that like the military and the DOD could be like the world's leading experts on amputee care, on what's the Vietnam Agent Orange, right? Like this is where we should be pouring our attention into, is like being the best at like combat related illnesses or injuries,
low-hanging
and
fruit,
things like that,
for lack of a better term.
Like what I think that we're wasting so much of our time on is like, not me, but me patient X is coming in there and like just wants my diabetes medicine, wants to get a checkup on diabetes. I'm like, all of that stuff should be offloaded onto your civilian doctor.
Yeah.
Right. And whether I think that rural care is important, especially where we have high concentrations of veterans, specialty care. But this idea that we're going to take care of every veteran in America and take care of all of their stuff, even when they have civilian insurance, seems like it's super, super inefficient.
Well, I know that TRICARE is accepted almost everywhere, and there's all of these programs that are accepted like everywhere, as like it didn't used to be that way. I just think just be like, hey, it's just an insurance card, and then they can file it with the government.
I agree.
It's from what I've been told, it's no different than any other government healthcare program like Medicare or whatever. Like, it's not confusing to them. They just literally select a different box.
I know.
And so I'm just like, well, all right, why not just do that?
And then, look at...
They could probably make money off of it, to be honest.
They could sell the brick and mortar buildings like the Phoenix VA. I'm not saying that has to be like a critical part of it, but I think that there's lots of opportunities for the VA to unload some of the things that they're doing into the civilian world, where a broken arm or the flu or something like that can easily be taken care of, and have us focused more of our attention on combat related illnesses and injuries.
Especially because especially those Vietnam guys, like it's tough, and
it's true.
I don't know. The thing that bothers me the most about it right now, at least, is that it'll be like a very hot topic that'll be discussed in this election cycle, and it'll probably be like referenced during debates and stuff. And that's kind of the thing that sticks in my craw the most, is like, veterans are always, in the background used as like political ideology framework, either the left or the right, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're still used. And I don't want us to be the thing that we're used, because I don't feel like either one of them are doing what they should do. And so I don't want to see that. I just want them to focus on the issues of like Is it underfunded? It seems to be underfunded. How can we change that? How can we just get people access to the care they need? And they have done stuff with like the care thing?
Yeah, the choice card.
The choice card. But like, we can move much faster than we're moving.
Yeah, we can. Well, one way that we could probably do that is to get more service members, serving in Congress and and doing their civic duty. We'll take a look, but I think that it's only 26% of your veteran population actually votes. That's compared to about 60% of the civilian population. So just think about what an impact veterans can make on the direction, the culture of this country if they just registered and turned out to vote. So that's a big thing that we're working on too. An organization I work with, Vote4America. It's vote the number 4america.org. And I mean,
just vote. You don't
just
care.
Vote. Just
don't care
get
who
out
does
there.
it. We don't. This is not endorsement of anyone. It's saying just to vote. Just get out there and vote.
If there are policies that you care about, whether it's hunting, it's Second Amendment, it's problems that you want to see the VA change, you need. I think that you need experienced people who know what they're doing and know what they're talking about to be in office to make those changes. We can't get there if veterans and military service members aren't voting and aren't registering to vote and aren't participating in the civic process.
Why do you think it's so low?
I don't think that it's really veterans' fault. I think that there's a few things that go on. You get so disconnected to what's going on in politics, and within the military, I'm sure you experience this too. We're an apolitical organization that doesn't care about your political views, and we're mission focused. So I think when you become mission focused like that and you learn to turn those things off, you kind of forget to get back into them, right? And I did it partly because the VA scandal happened there, right? I was like, this is an area that I can help. But that doesn't happen for everybody. So I think that's part of it. I think another part of it is that we move a lot. So if you re-register in one place or another, or if you're just not keeping tabs on what's going on back home, you don't feel like you're educated enough to be voting. I think that there are some improvements that we can make in your military absentee voting process. I don't think that the military does assign, I can't remember what they're called, but voter registration officers or election officers or something, but it's like
I didn't know that.
fifth most important duty. It's your S1's one of their last duties that they're in charge of.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you're like S1 is in charge of like personnel, and then he'll have other officer duties that he has. Like the election voter registration is going to be like down at the bottom of his priority list. So I think that, that's a part of it too. But regardless of what's causing it, it's got to change. And I think that if you're frustrated with what the direction is going in this country, whether it's on the left or it's on the right, because I think that you can find politicians that drive you crazy on both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
Let's replace them with good people that we know. There are plenty of people that I served with that I would vote for.
Yeah. I would also like younger people in general.
Me too.
Just in general across the board on both parties. Like if, I said it with Preston, I would kill for, a 50-year-old man or woman, just like in a situation in life where, their kids are grown, they have a, kind of a balanced perspective on life. I don't care what color their tie is or whatever. I just want someone who could, play a game of golf or do whatever they had to. I don't think we should be putting such, how can I say this? I don't think that we should be so heavily relied on age as a connection to intelligence, ability, and all those things. Like it's just, the last thing I want to do, if you come to me and I'm like in my 70s, like, Zach, do you want the hardest job ever? It's legit the hardest job ever. It's like looking at the sun every day for 4 years. No, I'm moving to the middle of nowhere. I'm not doing the hardest job of all time. It's been proven to like age people. But I not that military is the best or whatever, but they do have a unique perspective of being in situations where you're under high stress environments, and different things like that. But honestly, the thing I think that military people have better than anyone else is like, you're oftentimes, especially when you're in leadership, you're in a position where you're with a hodgepodge of people from different ages, different experience, different education, different backgrounds, different cultures, all that all rolled into one, and you have to move as a unit. And you have to be able to guide them regardless of what they bring to the table. You have to be able to do what's best for the group and move them forward and have them believe in you. And that's, I mean, there's nowhere else really it's like that. I mean, even if you're in a company and like a for-profit company, usually like have people that have kind of like the same, their goal is like make the company successful. They're all coming to that with that goal as opposed to everyone else is different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I had soldiers from all, different walks of life, from all different types of places. And I think that the military does a really good job of teaching those young people how to put those things aside and focus on the mission and realize that those physical differences too don't mean anything. Like you guys are now brothers, regardless, or brothers and sisters. But for me too, it was a great experience to have all of these different points of view and things that people found important. And like, especially why you join the military. People join sometimes to just get out of town, get out of, the home that they grew up in. Some of them did it for the future educational benefits. Some of them did it because they needed a job, they needed a paycheck. And some of them did it because they wanted to serve their country and they were proud of America. There were just like an array of different reasons. And you learn, this is what I think is probably the best lesson in leadership through that experience is motivating people. You have to figure out what motivates them. And like, telling the person who enlisted only because they wanted a job or educational benefits to like go kick in that door, to save America, right, isn't gonna work for them. You know what I mean?
No, it's not.
I just mean what motivates one person isn't gonna help motivate all the same people.
Here's a question. Do you think you would have joined the military regardless?
What do you mean regardless?
Regardless of 9/11 or all the other factors that played into it?
I mean, maybe. I'm trying to think back to that time. 9/11 just had such a huge impact. My dad and my grandfather were both in the Air Force. My uncle was fought in Vietnam. My grandfather on my mom's side was in the Air Force too. I have lots of military family members. I don't know that it was an idea I had at the time to join the military until 9/11 happened. Honestly, but it was also maybe I would have, but I'll never know because that's also the same exact time that you actually start thinking about those things. Is your your first couple of years in high school.
Yeah,
I was a sophomore, and so you know what I mean, like. It just happened at the same time. And so I couldn't tell you whether or not I would. I mean, I had gotten so into it. I was that guy who really believed it was my profession of arms and I cared about it and I wanted to learn everything that I could. And so that was a really dark period for me when I got out. That the first year, even though I was in law school and I was getting going in a new career in veteran advocacy, I was really disappointed and I blamed myself for it. I've told you this, not on the air, but I was in the Green Beret program when I'd gotten out, and it's difficult to get accepted into. You go through a board application process, a bunch of SF colonels look at your resume and they're like, or your DD 214, or that's not what it's called. What was the resume? It's like
OMPF.
The OMPF.
Official military personnel file.
So anyway, you send that. It's been like
I pulled
10 years since I remember the.
Wow.
So so like anyway, and I thought that was going to be my life. I thought I had found my calling. Right. I wanted to go speak another language, do the best of my ability, create like democratic revolutions in communist countries. I was like, that's what I want to do.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
You guys are about to get some democracy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Comes in many different forms.
Hey.
And no, so like that's what I wanted to do. And so I was pretty heartbroken when things didn't go my way. And you got to find a bigger purpose too. But yeah, I'm not sure. I know that when I was in, that's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to spend my whole life doing it. I was pretty depressed when I couldn't. So maybe I would have ended up there regardless.
It's so hard. It's so hard when you leave or whenever it is you decide to leave, 4 years or 40 years, the first year was really, really rough for me too. Especially when I was, living with my mother-in-law and grateful for it. But I had, my wife and my 2 kids, and we're like she had rearranged her whole house to take care of us. And like, we were all in like just making it work, but it did not feel like I had made any good decisions at all. Looking at a bonus, I said no to. A career, I said no to. Like, I had a home. I had one of the brand new houses they had built at Camp Lejeune, and like, it was nice. Water and electricity were free. I was just like turning stuff on and letting the taxpayer deal with it. Like, on-base housing was pretty cool at that time. I would wash a cup, and I'd be like, I don't care. Worst ways to spend the tax dollars. There are better ways to spend tax dollars. Worse ways, I mean. But it's. And I don't think we're as honest about that transition as we should be. I think we all try, but like, I do appreciate you sharing that, especially someone who, who got into law school, which, that wasn't something I was looking at.
But you got your MBA.
Yeah, but like that was far down the line. That's like version 2.0.
Oh,
like,
I see.
Version 1 was rough. I was, at that time, contracting was on the table, being a cop was on the table. I was like, I have, I'll call them soft skills, but they were like skills I can like move into immediately that were pretty close to what I did. And I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that.
A lot of us.
You look for low hanging fruit. Yeah. You look for like stuff you can
weird
move
shot.
into. Huh?
I said weird shot.
No. I'm not saying that it's not easy to be a cop at all. But what
but they're easily transferable skills.
Correct. The military environment, hanging out with people, doing service of others, being in high stress situations.
You called it low hanging fruit.
Low hanging fruit of like, they'll at least accept me. Because I got kicked out of a hotel. Not kicked out of a hotel. I tried for a security job at a hotel in town. They told me I wasn't qualified for it.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Well, it's crazy because the more that I get around civilians and I realize that they all think we all did the exact same thing. You can be like, I'm a pilot. You're like, oh, you'd be a good security guard. That's the type of feedback that a lot of veterans get is like, that you'd be great as a security guard. Like, that's where you should
They didn't give me that feedback.
That's why I think it's so funny.
Oh no, I had just been leading troops in combat 6 months prior to that. I was in charge of about 12 to 15 Marines and sailors, about 15 Afghan soldiers, and I was told I could not check people in to this hotel in town. Like, I was like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I like sat in my truck and I was just like, well, we're going back to the drawing board. Yeah. And it's just because of that loss of identity. And the cop thing is what I want to do. I wanted to be around people like me so bad. And that's
No, that's true.
We don't talk about that enough, but everyone scatters. Like, in this weekend, I'm gonna harp on this weekend. This weekend fucking rocked, dude. So it was stressful.
You gotta come to the next one.
You gotta come next one. Okay. We'll talk about offline, but like leading up to it, I felt like I was gonna vomit every day because it's like the stress of the moment. We were the podcast. That wasn't the hard. Like, just trying to get everyone in one spot. One guy's missing an arm and a leg. The other one's like coming in town. Where are we gonna put him? All that stuff. But like,
we recorded a podcast that morning. Then I like still had to rush back to get, like prep dinner, like prep my house, like everything.
An incredible dinner.
Thanks, man.
Just incredible dinner. Can't stress this enough. My man's got 3 grills and he was working all of them. It was insane. But
what's funny is that the guys who always grilled were all the Hispanic dudes in like my platoon.
Oh yeah.
It's always been a part of the culture too, right? Big barbecues, invite everybody from the unit over there. Yeah. Those are some of my favorite memories.
Yeah. It was for sure.
It just felt perfect. Like, being around people like that, friends, having a good time, taking the piss out of each other, literally just enjoying each other's company, and then, I mean, the culminating event, in my opinion, was, we did a range day afterwards, but Tyler Vargas Andrews was brought out on stage by Zach Brown to be honored for his service.
I saw.
And
great
man,
video.
I've not a dry eye in the crowd, not like, he sent us all, we have a group chat, and the video I was like, all right, that was like perfect to see that. Cause it's very well documented and he's been through so much, but like, it was just seeing that, I was like, man, that was like just a perfect end state. Cause you don't know how much of that's not in your life until you get those moments, these weekends, this time together. We're like, we were all together, wives, all of us, for like 72 hours straight, just hanging out. And it was awesome. It was.
Yeah. And there's a lot more wins to come after that. I mean, the connections that we built.
Oh yeah.
The people that we met, it's like you said, even seeing Tyler on stage, but also seeing like, we got to see the Ford Raptor that Ford gifted him, after his crash on Thanksgiving. Like we got to see that. And man, like that's what this podcast is all about, man.
I love
it. It's about getting everybody together, man. Like, and I said it on our group podcast. It was like, what you're seeing right now, if you're a veteran out there, like there's no reason why you can't have this little nucleus where you're at and where you live. Everybody's got time. You just got to be willing to make the time.
Yeah, I got to be better about building that out. I've got a core group of probably about a dozen veteran friends in Arizona. None of them actually that I served with, just ones that I built relationships with.
Yeah, neither of us have served together either.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So like
10 years up and down, some of us,
Well, one idea that just popped into my head too is we should take you guys out shooting in Yuma. I got a supervisor out there. He's a close buddy of mine. We try to go shooting every year on New Year's just to get our families together. Look, I'm not going to create a situation where create a flag for him with the feds, but he has a lot of weapons. We'll have a lot of fun out there.
Yeah.
We'll have a really good time. But that'd be something maybe kind of cool because we'll turn it into like an event too and invite other people.
Yeah, that would be great.
It would.
But I got to show you. I'll show you guys some pictures when this is over. And
we're always looking for new locations.
We want to take this thing. Makes it easier.
We want to take this thing across.
Oh, well,
all
states is going to be one of your stops because you've got Yuma Proving Grounds out there.
Yeah.
The Marine.
And hopefully we can create this into something where whatever state we're in, if you could make the trip and you want to be a part of this, like. Man, it's bringing veterans together. So
I want to be involved.
I think the goal is to expand that small circle and touch more veterans with doing this. Because when we do that, there might be a group of veterans that come from Arizona. They link up together. They start their own thing. To where it's just helping. Man, I can't tell you how much this group chat has helped me. Mentally. Just getting through like hard times, tough days, especially those anniversaries, that kind of pop up year after year. I mean, having those people to talk to and lean on in times like that because they understand, they get it.
You got to tell me what I can do to help too.
Yeah. I mean, it's great.
That. You guys are doing a great job. I love your content. I love following your stuff.
You wouldn't have loved what I did yesterday, but no, we're trying. It was just so apparent. Like, I remember waking up like Sunday morning. I was like, well, I'm going to do that again. Yeah. Like, it was just a hard thought. And like, also having, the spouses there too. And like all aspects of it, like merge into one. And, you're just, the stress I had was like, I just want everyone to like be present and just enjoy it. Yeah. And I could not have anticipated the response that I had, everyone had. I mean, everyone like, brought something, it's kind of like a Wish version of the Justice League. Like, that's great. I don't know what roles we are yet, but like it just like came to like even went to the range. It rained for like an hour and a half at least. But Preston came out and he brought like his grandfather's rifle.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like it was just all crazy. And then Tyler's up there reaching out and touch people with like his long guns. And like we met these guys, Gun Brothers Ranch.
Yeah, Gun Brothers Ranch.
Build custom weapons and they bring dudes out. Just that's it. You come out, you hunt. Top of the line, one of a kind game, incredible experience, which also goes back to conservation. People get upset about that, but it actually is preserving and helping conservation all over the globe. And so it's just like. There's just so much stuff. Like I still have these photos on my phone and I'm like, I've got to put them in an album so I could like come back to them because, the older I get, the farther I go through life, the more I'm like, man, it's just those little things. It's those little things where I'm like, this is great. I love this. I love being able to bring my community together. If only the VFW didn't hate me, we could all go there. But it was perfect. It's taught me so much about community that I thought I was aware of, but I was unaware of how impactful it can be.
Well, I'm glad you're out here making a difference.
we're just trying. We're just trying.
We're trying. The goal is to make a difference.
But seeing the Raptor, that thing could drive itself, by the way. Like, it's insane.
That's awesome.
It's those funny moments too, like on deployment or in your platoons and stuff like that, when you're sitting around, when you're throwing rocks, at a freaking can, whoever can hit it first. I mean, watching Mike get on the e-bike, crash it into a freaking ditch. Like, it's those funny moments that you experience and you laugh about and you just talk shit to each other about. But I mean, just.
It was fun. We'll tell the e-bike story then, I guess.
Yeah,
then, right?
No, I mean, you probably know it better than I, because you screwed him.
I did not. That's the story he told. That is the story he told. All right, so
there's 2 modes that this thing has. There's eco mode and then sport mode.
Yeah.
Which everybody else was riding it in eco mode till you got the hang of it. Mind you, it was raining. It had been raining. Zach passes off the bike to Mike.
I want to see what this thing looks like.
It looks like a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fast Frontier Mobility. I'm going to get one.
Okay.
The guy who there's this cool range.
Wait, what was the company?
Fast Frontier Mobility. Fast Frontier Mobility for all your e-bike needs.
Oh, yeah.
They move quick, low thermal. I literally texted my wife with no signal. I hadn't talked to her all day. I was like, I want an e-bike.
I got to see what this thing looks like.
Okay, so here's the thing. This guy who's on the range, he shows up on this bike, and I'm like, is that an e-bike? He's like, yeah, you want to try it? And I was like, yep. And he goes, do you have any experience? And I go, I'm an American. And so he's like, go on eco mode first, because for anyone who doesn't know, there is no torque. So you're moving. It's instant. It's electric, right?
Yeah.
It moves on a dime. And you're like, whoa. And so like, I'm going on it, and he's like, you press this button, it goes into sport mode. Now, some of us are made to do sport mode. Some of us are not, right? And sport mode is like 50 miles an hour. It is insane. Boom. It's e-bike Fast Frontier Mobility. And so it was kind of a lull in the range activities too, because the rain it rained on and off all day. Dirty Civilian did a really, really cool video about this. They're actually based out of here too, just south of us. But I get on it, goes off without a hitch, right?
Yeah.
Did I put it in sport mode? Again, I'm an American. Look at that. I mean, that's literally, cool. Brother.
How long? What's the range on it?
So I think on their website it said like 2 hours, not 2 hours, like 100 miles basically.
Got it.
And
this thing's so sweet.
They're so smooth. Again, there's no torque, so like you're just perfectly riding on it. You know, when you're little,
that is cool.
You're like, when will hover bikes and stuff be invented? This is like the first step towards crazy cool technology. But so I'm ripping up on it. A few people go after me, right? And then Mike Colazzo's like, I'm getting on it, and he gets on there, right? And so we're waiting again it's not raining hard. It's just like a little bit of sprinkles.
The ground is wet.
The ground is wet, but there's pavement. Everyone else who went after me did fine. And then I look, and this other guy, Matt, was supposed to go. And I was like, Matt, have you gone there? He's like, no, I haven't seen Mike. And right when he says that, I look over a hill, and Mike's covered from head to toe in mud. Oh. And he comes up and he goes, Zach put it in sport mode, and that's why I went in a ditch. And I was like, I didn't put it in sport mode for you.
Yeah, like people had been joking, because I saw him standing on the other side of the ditch, and I'm like, where'd the bike go? He never came back.
He's
just like standing there looking around. And I think he was talking to one of the guys over there at the range, and they're like, did you put it in the ditch? And he's like, yeah, can you help me get it out? I think that was the conversation that was happening there. So he's walking without this bike, and I was like, please don't tell me you put it in the ditch. And he's like, oh, Zach put it in sport mode. Like, I was like, dude, you're an idiot, dude. Like, this man let us use his e-bike, and you're going to fuck it up for all of us. But man, dude, it's just insane.
It was Mike proof. It was fine. People rode it the rest of the day, but like, there aren't like many things where like, yeah, I'm going to do it. But yeah, Fast Frontier Mobility, like the resiliency, how quickly it moved, how quickly it responded. Like,
that's cool.
The balance, like all of it, it's the only thing that's scary is how easy it is, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. That's a fair thing to say.
Yeah.
That's not a negative. You're just like, I'm not sure. Perfect. But yeah.
It's hard to come off that thing, man.
I didn't want to get off of it. No, I did not want to get off of it. So hopefully my wife won't be too upset when the Apple Pay charge goes through.
So my wife is adamantly against me ever getting a motorcycle.
Well, that's not a motorcycle.
That's what I was going to say, right? It's going to be like, look, like this is just like, an off-road toy. This isn't a motorcycle.
It's not. Mrs. K, let him cook. Let him cook. Come on. And while you're cooking, letting him cook, we should also vote for America. Go to vote the number 4 America. Again, it does not matter who you are or who you are voting for.
Yeah.
If you want to let your voice be heard, please get out there and vote, especially since 26% is rough. That is bad. That is not a good number. And don't be like, oh, well, your vote doesn't matter. Wrong. Vote. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you're picking. Just please do it. Be a part of the conversation. That's the only way to make change.
Absolutely. Please.
That's all I want. I don't. Yeah. It really sticks in my craw. People are like, well, I didn't vote, and I'm like, okay, well then I think you should sit this one out then. Like,
well, yeah, and your vote does matter. I know that's what a lot of people say when I tell them to register to vote. But you look at some of the really competitive races across the country over the last couple election cycles. We had a Republican lose to the Democrat in the Attorney General's race. And that's kind of unheard of in Arizona, at least recently, for us to pick a Democrat and put him in a law enforcement position.
Mm-hmm.
So that individual lost by 260 votes.
Wow. That's it?
That's right.
What is that, like point? Like
it's less than 1%. Yeah. So it it went into a recall. But the results stayed the same.
Brandon Herrera lost by
that's another great example.
100 votes.
Yeah.
And by the way, it took $10 million to beat him. They came up with $10 million.
And he was grassroots, right?
He fundraised all of it. I watched him do it from the ground up. I saw everything he was doing. It came from a very genuine place. He really believes everything he says, and he backed it up. And hundreds of votes are what stood in between him and everyone else. And it took $10 million being dumped in the last month to beat him, which is kind of insane, honestly.
So I bet had we been able to increase the percentage of veterans voting in that election, they would have swung that election.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too. And couldn't think of 2 better examples of why you need to vote. Just vote, please. I just want people to vote. That's all I want.
Right. You'll have a better country because of it.
Voting is what matters. What else are you doing to help us all? Because we need you.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about, you guys probably saw I threw in a pouch.
Unnamed.
An unnamed pouch. I have been dipping for a long time, really became more of a regular thing. When I was in the military, I think a lot of your listeners, people that maybe yourselves have experienced this, but tobacco becomes part of the culture.
Yeah.
If not part of the culture, it's kind of an organic thing that we do to stay alert and stay alive.
Awake, alert, hungry, it'll do all that.
It does. It's a cure-all for soldiers. And so when you come off and, there were times when I was using dip to stay awake, right? And probably saved my life. And then you then afterwards, I don't think that my wife really enjoyed all those years of having dip cups and stuff like that around.
Mine didn't.
No, they don't. They don't like it at all. Anyway, so I think what we're also learning too is how dangerous smoking is compared to vaping products. Mm-hmm. I know that there's been a little bit of confusion about that, but there is now a body of research out there that says that, your vaping products are at least 95% healthier than your combustible cigarettes, your regular traditional cigarettes, right? For me, it is significant healthier, or the nicotine pouches are. And it was a really easy way for me to transition. I know a lot of veterans who struggle with trying to quit smoking. The VA did a survey, and over 50% of those that use tobacco products have tried to quit in the past. And half of those people continue to want to try to quit, but have not found a way to do it. The VA, unfortunately, only educates veterans and service members on, a cold turkey approach. Mm-hmm. And I think that if they educated people on these different alternative products that are significantly healthier for them and can help them in that transitional journey, if they actually do want to quit smoking or quit dipping, then I think that the VA and not just at the federal level, but at the state level too, should be educating veterans about these options. So that's one thing. So there is, you can go to our website as well. That one is SmokelessVets.org. And we want to try to implement some of those policies across the country because I think that it'll make a huge impact on the health and force readiness of our service.
So you're saying that help 500,000 veterans quit smoking. Oh, is Jared Taylor?
That's Jared Taylor. Look, we've got a great crew too. And that's one of the most important points.
So you've met him, JT. I love JT.
So we want to bring together, people just like us. And so, reach out to me if you want to get more involved too. But we think that part of the problem is that you're not getting information like this, both on the voter registration front, because some of the guys who are helping me with Smokeless Vets are also helping with Vote4America. But we want to be a trusted voice to tell other service members that this worked for us, and we think that might be the missing key is getting veterans to be talking directly to other veterans and service members.
Yeah, I mean, it says something because it's such a big part of the culture. It really, really is. I mean, the majority of the time I used nicotine overseas was just to stay awake because I was hungry or whatever. And so you're taking an honest approach of like, this is what you can do as a better way. Like it's called harm reduction, right? You look at a healthier delivery system for nicotine.
Yeah.
Because I've even seen stuff like that's mainstream now, people being like, buy this nicotine spray or like nicotine like mints or whatever. Because from what I understand, it helps with neuroelasticity, maybe, I believe it. Just nicotine itself.
Yeah, I've seen that study, or I've seen studies like that before that do say that, nicotine products do help with brain function. I'm not sure like the long-term effects, but
yeah,
regardless, right? Like you're right. If it's harm reduction.
Yeah.
You got cigarettes that are way over here on, the most harmful of the nicotine products. I'm not saying that they're any more dangerous than maybe some of the other things that we do as well. But
for sure.
But then you have your alternative nicotine products like your vapes and your pouches, and they're significantly healthier for you. And so why wouldn't we embrace that? A really good example of how DoD policy could change for the better is you could go on base and you can get some Nicorette gum, maybe from the PX or from your doctor. But, it's really difficult for you to find pouches and vape products on some of these bases now.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So I'm saying like, give them the opportunity to do something healthier.
I've always thought if the consumer's better educated, 9 times out of 10, they'll make the best decision for themselves.
That's true.
Regardless of, the change in like cost or whatever. Like, as I get older, I learn more about like better types of food, for instance, I'll make that change or whatever. So, I mean,
yeah.
But like in general, our population just isn't really as informed as I wish we were on a lot of things. And I think it's to our detriment in a lot of ways, which is, proven.
Well, I think it's a testament to the work that you're doing and the success of your show and how we can make an impact in that area too.
The secret to my success to the show is right there. Look at him. Just perfect.
Stud.
He cooks. He cleans.
Cooks a good meal too.
He produces.
I'm looking forward to that.
He edits. What can't he do? What can't he do? Well, as we're wrapping up here, again, thank you so much for joining us. Any final thoughts, saved rounds or alibis you got for us? Or
let me reiterate. Love for you to encourage your family members and your friends to register to vote. This is going to be a consequential election for us, but long-term in the future too, you can make a huge impact on the direction of your local community and the country. Help us help veterans to quit smoking more responsibly. And I always say, check on your buddies, because all of us have had those experiences before. And you never know when it's going to happen, but I do think that it's incredibly important to just keep those communication lines open so that your buddies know that they could reach out to you when they need you.
Perfect.
Thanks, man.
Thank you again for joining us, for all of us here at the After Action podcast. We'll catch you next time.